Hello everyone. Now I thought what I would do for this week's video tip was to take some examples of some average lady golfers' bunker swings, because I know bunkers are a big issue for a lot of people, and I have blurred everyone out so there's no worries about anyone being identified here. So don't panic if you think, oh, I've been to a school of Anns in the last few years, am I going to turn up on one of these videos? No one is going to be identifiable, so don't worry about that. But I've done live lessons in the past and they've been really popular, so I just thought I would take 3 ladies' bunker techniques, and they've all got sort of various different things that they're doing incorrectly. But having said that, there's usually only a few things that most people do wrongly in the bunker. And most of these ladies are exhibiting one or the other sort of thing. But hopefully you might find this, watching these ladies and me talking over the top and doing some comparisons, helpful for you in the bunker, because as I said, I've found live lessons on my videos have been really really popular in the past. So let's have a look at, we'll call her lady number 1. Let's have a look at lady number 1's first 2 swings in normal speed, and then we'll slow it down. And you'll be able to sort of start to see yourself what sorts of things that people tend to do incorrectly in the bunker. So if I stop lady number 1 here, you can see already that her left arm is not straight at impact, which is pushing her hands back towards her right knee. Now that left arm should start straight, because you've got a much better chance of keeping it straight throughout the swing, particularly through impact, which is so important. If you start with it straight. Now if that left elbow bends, that brings the club head up, and instead of getting down into the sand with the club head, you're going to hit the ball, which is obviously what we don't want in the bunker. We want to be splashing down into that sand and letting the club lift the ball up. So the first thing we need to do here is to straighten her left arm and move her hands a little bit forward there. So let me continue on. And now you can see I've stopped her at the top here. Now she's got a nice straightish, I'd say that was straight enough, left arm. Unfortunately though, she has lifted her body up. So instead of twisting back and turning the shoulders, she's lifted up. So you can see that left shoulder hasn't really come across underneath the chin. She's sort of picked her arms up rather than turned her body back. Now turning your body in the bunker is so important, because we need a fair bit of power in the bunker to get through the heavy sand. And as women in particular, we find it more difficult to power through the heavy sand. You do need speed through the ball, even in a bunker, because it's the speed that lifts the ball up and gives you height, and height is a really good thing to have in the bunker, as we know, a nice high soft landing shot. Now you can see coming through impact, unfortunately that left elbow is bent and the right heel is back flat on the ground. So you can see by my comparison picture there on the left, that's more like what we need to see in the bunker, is the body coming through, the arms extending through the shot, that left arm particularly staying straight. I should say leading arm, because it's the right arm for left-handers. So the leading arm, the one closest to the target, has to stay straight through impact, and then the body needs to come through with the shot. If the body stays behind, which it is here with that back foot flat, the elbows don't have a choice of staying firm, or the arms don't have a choice of staying straight, because it's just not physically possible. Everything's got to collapse because the body is starting to work in a different direction to the arms. So this is what's costing our lady number 1 her consistency. Basically not turning the shoulders going back, and then then the arms are doing too much work, and then the same thing then happens coming through. The arms have to take over, the body's not involved, everything stays flat-footed, and then there's not enough power and consistency to get down under the sand and to get the ball up and out each time. Okay, thank you very much to our lady number 1. Okay, so let's do the same thing with our lady number 2. We will let her play her first 2 shots in normal speed, and then I'll slow her down. So let's stop her at impact, at address here. So far everything looks okay here. Left arm is nice and straight. You wouldn't say there was too much wrong there with that setup, having seen it only from the front. If I was looking from what they call the down the line position, I think I'd probably see that her bottom is not sticking out enough and her back is probably a bit rounded. But having not really being able to see that, that would be what I think is probably happening there. But other than that, it's looking okay. So let's see as we go back here. Alright, so what's happening here is that our lady number 2 is not cocking her wrist, her left wrist or leading wrist, as she goes back. Now what happens when you don't cock the wrist in a bunker is it's very hard to smack down sharply into the sand behind the ball, which is so important. You tend to sweep too early into the sand, so the club hits the sand too soon or too far away from the ball. The club can't travel through all that sand, and then the ball just doesn't get out because you haven't got the power to get the ball out. And that's what's happening. The weight's hanging back as well. That left elbow's bending a little bit too. If you cock your wrist going back on the backswing, early on the backswing, this applies to all swings, not just in the bunker, then it does allow for that nice hitting down firmly through the back and the bottom of the ball, which applies, as I said, bunkers or anything, turf, anything. So you've got to cock that wrist early as you take the club back, and that really helps, particularly in the bunker, but pretty much everywhere as well. So again, we've got the bit flat-footed here, finishing without that nice turn through. That's her follow through there. We need the body through, the back heel up, and the hands up nice and high on the follow through, which is really an indication of what's gone before. So a bit extra wrist break going back, and then bringing that body through so that your tummy's facing the target when you finish and your back heel's up off the ground. So important in the bunker. Thank you, lady number 2. Okay, and our final lady. All right, I'll let you watch her through again before we start picking her apart, which we try and do as kindly as possible. So now, important here is that ball position. You've probably picked it up yourself if you're looking at this. Her ball position is well too far back for a bunker shot. Got it right off her back foot. Now, when the ball's back in the stance like that, you're going to hit it low, and when you put the ball way forward, you're going to hit it higher. Now, obviously in a bunker, we want it higher. We want to get it up and out of that lip, generally speaking. So putting the ball back is not a good thing to do in the bunker. So that's the first thing. Otherwise, I think it looks pretty good. Left arm's nice and straight. She looks quite dynamic. Feet are a little bit too wide. You want to be about shoulder width. I know you can't see the top of her shoulders all that well there, but her feet are a little bit too wide. But otherwise, I like it. It's looking quite strong. So she's turned her shoulders okay. It is harder to turn when your feet are quite wide like that. It actually restricts your ability to turn, to be honest. Imagine if you put your feet actually touching one another. It becomes a lot more easy to move. So I'd like to see her body twisting a little bit more at the top, which would eliminate that little bit of bend in the elbow there on the top of the backswing. Otherwise, it's okay. But the thing is, with that ball back there, she's probably going to have to leave her weight back on that back side there to try and get at the ball. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so you can see there quite clearly that the weight's fully on the back foot. In fact, I think the left heel's even up off the ground. She's had to really hang back to try and get that ball from that ball position. The left elbow's bending a little bit. Everything's back on that back foot. So again, hard for the body to work properly when the ball position's too far back. You're going to need the ball forward so that you can move forward or turn the body forward through the shot, transfer your weight back, then through correctly. Really important in a bunker shot. Okay, well, thank you so much to my 3 ladies who don't know who they are. But I do appreciate being able to use you as an example, because generally speaking, there's only maybe half a dozen things that people tend to do wrong in a bunker. And if I was really honest, it's probably like 2 or 3 things. And you can see that already yourself. It's not really turning. It's tending to leave your weight back and your feet flat. The other one would be that left arm bending up a little bit too much. So if you collapse that left or leading elbow, you're going to be really inconsistent with your bunkers, because if it starts straight at address, but then it's bent at impact, the club head comes up, you have to then put your head down to try and lower yourself back down low enough to get down to the sand. And then it just gets really inconsistent. You're bobbing up and down, the elbow's bending. So to keep it simple, that left or leading arm stays fairly straight right throughout. And I will pop a really good video in at the end which will really show you the best way to almost to fix all of these problems in one. There's a drill in this video tip that I've got coming up that will help you fix all of these problems in one, and I'll leave that with you. So thank you very much for watching as usual. Hope you're all staying safe out there at the moment, because I know there's not a lot of golf being played, unfortunately, but hopefully some of these tips are helping at least pass the time, if nothing else. All right, take care everyone. Bye. So let's fix your bunker shots once and for all. Now what you'll need here to do this drill that I'd like to show you is some space, a practice bunker at your club, some privacy, a handful of golf balls, and a bit of time to really focus on this drill and get your bunker shots right, because it does take practice and it takes confidence. So what I've got here for you is a series of oval shapes that I've drawn in the sand. They're around about 6 inches from the front to the back, and they simulate how much sand you would normally splash out when you play a bunker shot. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up to the first one, and you're going to use this drill. It's a half swing drill. You're going to stop halfway back here. You're going to splash the front of the oval, and you're going to stop here on the follow through. So that's your drill. Go along your line of ovals, halfway back, splash the sand and follow through. Continue on, getting a feel for that position. This is the number one position in this drill. Splash through the sand, stop on the follow through. And you're going to come to one with a ball in it, but you're going to do exactly the same thing. There's one without a ball. Continue on, going through your drill, making sure you keep your technique right. Nothing much changes when the ball's there. Halfway back, halfway through. So what you'll do is you'll very slowly get a feel for the correct technique. You'll start to build some confidence because you'll see that the ball is lifting. So spend some time doing that, get some confidence going. You'll slowly build the length of your swing back up again to the normal length. But doing this drill, just keep it short and build your confidence that way.